Hello you guys, welcome to your video on how to do our first assessments. So it's very important for us to establish a baseline metric with which we then can project what we need to do in your workouts and in your food plan to get you from where you're at right now and the way I need to write your program design to get you where you want to be. It's also really important that we measure this along the way so that we can adjust. I'll adjust your food plan, I'll adjust your workouts, your splits, so that we know that we're on the right path to you reaching your goals. But if we don't start with a measurement, we can't improve, right? Like the little quote from Peter Drucker, what is it? What gets measured gets improved. Well, if we don't measure, we can't improve. And I can't take the science of health and fitness and apply those known metrics to your known metrics to get us to where you want to go. So we're going to start off with this assessment. There's actually 3 assessments that we're going to do over the next couple days together. The first one is a body measurement assessment. Now, through these measurements, we're going to be able to assess a lot. I'm actually going to figure your body fat percentile from these measurements. So it's very important that we start off with a specific way to do it. So important so that I've sent you in your Do the 180 package, because you're an online client, a tape measure just like this one for you to use. The reason that is I don't want you to just be, grabbing one tape measure one week, another tape measure the other week. I want you to have one specific so we know we are using the exact same calculations. Also, the reason I'm doing a video on this is because it is very important that we measure from specific placement of the tape measure every single time. So I'm going to walk you through what that should look like. That way, it's just like in business, if we change a little bit of the variable and we don't account for that change, then actually the metric we come back with, the data we come back with, is going to be correct. And so it's very important that we make sure that we're starting with a duplicatable process. So I'm going to walk you through what that is today. So for women, there's actually one extra place we're going to measure with the tape. So I'll walk you through what the men's is going to look like, and at the end I'll add the women's measurement, extra measurement space. But a couple key things. So I'm going to show you this because this is very similar to the one that's going to show up for you. You'll notice it has this little key, very basic, very simple. You just are going to, when you put this around the body part and it's there, then you're going to put it in the little hole. Then you're going to push this little button to make it snug. Let's say that was my arm, right? Now it's snug, not too tight, and it's not loose. So we've got a correct measurement. And then I can actually release it and pull it out and see the measurement. Now notice you probably saw it go in a little bit when I let go. If I just leave it where it's at, it's going to be right at 8. But if I gently pull it to where it was, it'll take it to the true measurement, 9. That's just the slack that's in the tape from when I let go. But the true measurement where it clicked in was 9, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, don't let this freak you out. It starts at 2 inches. That's to make up for the difference in the space of that. So they have that starting at 2 inches because it needs to be that way to be accurate. So you're going to measure a couple places. In some places, it's very important that we measure the thickest part. Others, the most narrow. So pay attention to that. Also, it's very important that we measure in the exact same place. So I always want to measure right across the highest peak of my bicep. For my arm, I actually have a mole that is right at that same place, so it makes it easy for me. So if you have something on your body that is in alignment with the places I'm going to tell you, make mental note of it. It's really important to make mental note of where we're placing the tape the first time so that we're getting accurate measurements every time placing that tape there over and over and over again, okay? So for the first place we're going to measure is your arm. And I want you to measure your arm twice. You only have to measure the right side of your body. You don't have to measure both parts for a limb, okay? You can if you want, but you don't have to. So you're going to measure your arm both relaxed, like mine is now, and then you're going to put it in a flex position and you're going to measure it flexed. When you do these measurements for both times, it's important that you do it at the widest part of your arm. So the thickest part of my arm is obviously not down here, right? It's going to be up here. And then when I do the flexed one, thickest part of my arm, so the highest peak of my bicep, okay? 2 measurements for your arm, for one arm. So only body part we're going to do 2 measurements on. Then we're going to do across your chest. It's very important on these you don't suck in and you don't, puff out kind of thing, just your natural posture, and you're gonna go right across your nipple line. The other thing that's really important about all of this is that we make sure that that tape is level across your body. So what I mean by that is if I have it perfectly here at, you know, across the front of my chest, but down here it drops 3 inches or part of it's up 2 inches higher on one side across my back, I'm not gonna get a correct measurement. So just kind of take a quick peek in the mirror, double check it's level across your back, then you just touch the little button until it cinches up nice and tight, and you're good. Record that measurement. The next measurement we're going to do is right across your belly button. So mine's here. I would take it right across my belly button, measure that again, no sucking in, just keep your natural stance. Measure that right across there, record the number. Then we're going to go to your hips. Now, the best way to measure your hips to keep it consistent is to go the highest part of your glute, okay? So wherever that is across you, usually it's right at your pubic bone as well in the front. Just look in the mirror, get it to the highest part. Again, make sure you're nice and level. You're not ski-wampus up on one side and down on the other. Push the button in. Now you've got your measurement. Then we're going to go to your thigh. Your thigh is going to be the widest part of your thigh. So you can see in mine, I put the tape right about here, right? And then your calf. Last but not least, your calf. Again, widest part of your calf. Record all those numbers, send them to me. I want you to send them to me because I'm going to input them into the app in your area where it tells all your personal metrics. And that way I'm going to create a graph for us that we can just, every time we come back in and we measure where you're at and what your progress is, we've got a visual graph that's showing your body measurements. I don't want you to have to worry about learning how to do all that. So if you send me the numbers, I will load those in for you. Now for women, the extra place you're going to go is at the narrowest part of your waist. So my belly button's clear down here, right? But the narrowest part of my waist is clear up here. Women carry their fat differently than men do. And so I want you to measure this measurement too. So measure here, measure your belly button as well. All right, that's for women. Again, no drawing your navel in when we do this. We just want a standard relaxed stance, except for the bicep when we measure it twice, okay? So those are our body measurements. Now, with this, I'm actually going to take this, put it in a mathematical formula, and spit out what your average body fat percentile is off of these numbers as well. There's a couple other ways you can measure your body fat. These are just suggestions. It's if you want to, they are not needed. But just so you know, they vary in their actual correct and you know how correct they will be. Even the very best way to measure our body fat, which is either a DEXA scan or in a flotation pool, those are the two best ways, still have at least a 2% variance in their accuracy. Okay, so it could be maybe my body fat is 16% in the pool, but it's truly 18 or truly 14, right? A 2% variance on either side. But those are industry standard, considered to be the most accurate. They cost a little bit of money. If you are the kind of guy or gal who wants to make sure you have exact numbers, I'd suggest you do that. They can be around $100 or more. But if you have a university in your area, a university here, it does them for $25 because it helps their exercise science students, like I was when I was going to college, have more practice. Okay, so you can look that up if you want. Nice numbers, no, not important. We will go by your body fat with these measurements. It's a pretty accurate way. Another way is bioimpedance, which is the most inaccurate way you could ever use, and I will actually suggest you don't use it. These are the handheld things or the scales that you stand on. It sends the current through your body and then determines what your body fat percentile is. They are exceptionally inaccurate. Our professors used to tell us, do not waste the money on these. They will be frustrating to you and to your clients. They just don't tell the truth of the matter. They rely too much on things that are uncontrollable variables. If you drink more water today than you did when you first took your test, if you didn't get as much sleep, if you ate, if you worked out, if you didn't work out, all those things affect it greatly, like huge percentiles. It's just not accurate enough for you to even bother with. The only bioimpedance I found that's pretty accurate is the in-body scan, and that's one where you stand and hold, and it's all one big unit. My NutriShop here has one that's pretty dang accurate. I know it's accurate because I know how to take body fat multiple different ways. And when I take it multiple different ways and I look at what the in-body scan locally here is, it's right within that median, right? So, but that always depends on the calibration, how well they're taking care of the machine, those kinds of things as well. So I use mine. You can kind of use yours as a gauge if you have one at your local gym or what have you there, called an in-body scan, okay? Then also there's fat calipers. Now these are actually one of the best ways for you if you don't have a big machine like a DEXA scan to carry around. You don't have a body of water that's going to measure your fat to carry around. These are the most accurate, but only as accurate as the person who is taking them. So when I was in college, our professors used to say, you know, this is what you want to use most often if you don't have access to, you know, a pool that you're going to be able to do it in, if you don't have access to a DEXA scan, use these, but understand it will take it a minimum at least 300 to 500, up to 700 times of taking somebody's body fat before you actually get it to where it's consistent with you every single time. So I send you a tape measure, but not body fat calipers, even though they're relatively inexpensive. It would be really easy to send because we both know you're not going to have that much practice before we need to take your first one. So if you want to get those and play around with them, awesome. Most people don't need them. Most people never want them. But I mean, it's up to you. So I will though figure your body fat based on these numbers, based on the numbers you give me based on mathematical calculations that I know are really accurate because I have gauged this formula against multiple ways that I know are also very accurate. And again, like the in-body scan locally here, it gives me a good consistent number. So they will be still, there's that, you know, margin of error, just like any of it, a greater margin of error than a DEXA scan, but it is actually a really good way. The honest situation is though, here's the deal. The scale is not always going to be a perfect measurement. Measurements are not always going to be a perfect measurement. Body fat percentile, like, you know, DEXA scan or anything is not always going to be a perfect measurement. Taking progress photos is also an assessment we're going to do. That is a really good measurement. The way your clothes fit, that's a really good measurement. We're going to actually take all that information and aggregate it so that we come out with a fuller picture. We're not going to just go off one or the other because it doesn't tell us the full picture, okay? We're just going to bring that in, then we'll get the full picture. So I don't want you to freak out if the scale goes up a couple pounds. I don't want you to freak out if the body fat test said you're a little bit higher. If we can see as a whole, this information is saying we're heading in the right direction, then we know we're heading in the right direction. Because everybody can be a little bit heavier one day because they did leg day the day before and they have inflammation in their legs because their body's healing and they went up 2 to 3 pounds. That's normal. And we don't want that to throw us up and think, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight, when you're not really. Your body's just responding to the stimulus you gave it correctly because it's healthy, okay? So that's how we're gonna do this. The other assessments we're going to do is I do want you to take progress photos. So we're going to start with photos and I'm going to have you front facing with your arms up like this. Just flex, show me your muscles. You're going to go sideways and you're going to put your arms back like this and then back just like I did in front with your arms up here, okay? I want you to wear clothes like what I'm wearing. Like I'm not wearing a big baggy sweats. You can see my form. If you wear a t-shirt that's 2 sizes too big because you're trying to hide something you don't like, you will not have the great celebration and jubilation when 4 weeks from now you take the picture and you can't tell your progress in the picture, okay? Nobody's gonna see these. They're for you and for me, and that's it. So take the pictures in something that you can actually tell what your, what your progress is. Most people will take them in a bathing suit because we're just keeping amongst ourselves, okay? So that's what we're going to do to start off with, your measurements and your photos. Then we're going to do a functional movement screening, and I'm going to send you a separate video walking you through some very basic movement patterns that I need you to do in video. Then I will watch those, and what I'm looking for as your coach is movement patterns in your body that show me that you have imbalances that we need to correct as we're working out together. So if you have over tight quads, that's going to really affect things. If you have hamstrings that are over tight, that's going to affect things. If you have glutes that are inactive, an inactive core, if you have a neck that's protruding because you sit at a desk, All of those things are really important for me to know, because just like your weight is a number that I need to factor to create the program specific to you so we can reach your goals, so are the numbers and the information I get, the data I get from your functional movement screen. So I need to see those so that I can personalize and really tailor make everything we do in your workouts and prevent injury, right? Then the last thing that we're going to do is your first workout is also an assessment. It's 7 to 9, can't remember the exact number, very basic moves. It'll be a total body workout. It'll be just your basic moves. It's not going to be your first workout. It's not going to be where you leave the gym dripping in sweat, wondering what in the heck you've done signing up for this. This is just to walk you through these basic lifts so that I can see a couple things. One, what is the weight that you can use and still have correct form? Correct form is always going to be the thing I'm harping on. Number two, are there imbalances I can see in that movement? So I can see when you bend over to do a row, if there's specific things that are going on that I'm going to really need to make sure in your program I'm writing things specific to correct that or to strengthen it, those kinds of things, all right? So you're going to video every one of those moves. So it'll be, 7 1-minute little videos you send me. You'll attach them in your app. That'll all be explained in your first workout, okay? And then from that information, now I can take all of those details and create your specific workout program for your specific goals. So watch in the mail, your tip measure that I'm going to send you. It usually comes 1 to 2 days after you've signed the contract. I just have Prime send that to you. Watch for that. Other tip about taking these, if you get this on Thursday and you're starting your first workout on Monday, take these measurements Sunday night or Monday morning, okay? Don't do it Thursday. And just because word to the wise, as much as I want to tell you, don't go eat all of your last suppers between Thursday and Sunday. Most people will. So we don't want to have numbers that are maybe different than what your first were. You're also going to weigh yourself. Make sure that you do it at first thing in the morning, after you've gone to the bathroom. Naked is generally preferred by most people, if not, no shoes. And take that number as well, and we'll put that all together so we have your base numbers and know exactly what we need to do to get you where you want to go. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to be working with you, helping you reach your goals. As always, I'm your coach. Reach out to me. Just because we're working together online does not mean we're gonna not have a lot of communication. I want to be accessible and here to communicate with you as much as you need. So if you're on autopilot and you think you really got this handled and you don't need to check in with me all the time, that's fine. We'll have our regular meetings and check-ins and form checks. If you're texting me once a day because you're a little confused on something, that's fine as well. I'm here for you to guide you through you doing the 180.